What's up, guys? We're back for another Mythic Legions Advent of Decay review, and we're taking a look at a figure that I've already sort of covered back when I took a look at the two test shot figures that I got, King Noglin and Faunus, and that's who we're taking a look at today, the fully production sample of Faunus. So this is a figure that obviously, I'm very interested in because I got to the point where I wanted to buy the test shot. So I figured we'd wait a while and take a look at other figures before I actually dive into this one. And now we're here. We're going to take a look at this guy. He is, of course, in the standard Mythic Legions packaging. You can see him there in that window. We've got a bio for him on the side. And then, of course, we've got that same artwork that we've seen on the back. So let's pull him out and take a look. Alright guys, here he is out of the package. Faunus from Mythic Legions, one of my more anticipated figures from this line. So much so that I went out and got the test shot for this figure. I think that says a lot. We are, of course, going to take a look at Articulation first. I've done it with the test shot, but we do need to take a look at the finished sample as well and see how this guy moves around. So the head is, of course, on a ball. The neck can rotate as well, but the head can look up a little bit. He can look down. He has a lot of bobble side to side and then full rotation all the way around. Arms go all the way out. They swivel. We've got a swiveling elbow. We've got a single hinge, swivel at the gauntlet, swivel at the wrist, and then hinges. He is a solid torso, so he has a waist twist, and it's a ball peg, so he can go back and forth, side to side quite a bit, just like at the neck. Basically the same kind of thing, and then back and forth. Legs go all the way out. They kick all the way forward. They kick all the way back. You do have a thigh cut in there. We got a single joint at that knee with rotation, and then we have got rotation at the ankle, we have got rocker, and then we have got hinge. And this is, it's not necessarily a huge thing to point out, but this is one of the few figures so far that I have not had a single problem with stuck joints. So it's a nice change up. I haven't had to heat him up or anything like that. So it's nice to be able to move this guy around unimpeded, so to speak. But he has everything that you would expect any other figure in this line to have. But like I mentioned, the main draw for me, well, it's not just this figure, it's pretty much every figure in this line, is how they look. The look and feel of this particular figure is very unique among this line. We do have a lot of figures in this wave in particular that give off a kind of forest protector, forest spirit vibe. Xylona, obviously, the Deer Lady is a huge one. Hera Serpentspire, that one is another, foresty type of character. But this one in general screams, like an elemental, a forest spirit, a forest guardian kind of a character. Not to mention the fact that the colors really go for a kind of an autumnal look and feel. And maybe that's really what does it for me, but just everything about the way this guy looks is really speaking to me. I know I say that a lot with these figures, but this one is just no exception. We've got really no new parts on this guy outside of the head. He's a lot of reuse, I believe, from the older figures, from like the 1.0 line. I don't think there's anything really new here, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because this all works very, very well. I love the set of armor they gave him. It's not too garish. It's not too over the top. I like the fact that we've got the cloth tunic for the chest piece here, and then the colors on this guy are just perfect. So, like I said, they look very autumnal. They look kind of fall type of color scheme with the bronze, with the orange, and then this kind of foresty green. And of course, we've got all that inlay work that we see on all the armor pieces with the Mythic Legions, and it's all done up really, really nicely. We do have soft goods on this guy. We've got a rubbery loincloth, at the front, and then you've got one of these kind of skirt pieces that you pop on, so pull the chest apart, take the torso off, and then you can actually take this rubber piece off here, and you can plug everything around it, so it holds it in place really well. It flows really nicely. I like the way it looks even from the back. It kind of bunches up a little bit, but it's not bad. And then of course we do have, a lot more sculpt work on the legs down here, which is hidden by those soft goods in some fashion. But we've got the same green down here on the shins, and he is, keeping in fashion with his, kind of forest spirit, forest god type of look. We've got hooves on this guy as well, which I really like. I think those, kind of harken back to the Minotaur figures from the older waves. But in general, there's nothing that I don't like about the way this guy looks. He looks fantastic from the neck down. When you get closer in on the head sculpt, though, that's where things get really crazy, and to be honest, that's really the main draw for me when it comes to this guy. So here we go, up close and personal with that head sculpt, and there is no question, this is my favorite part of this figure. It's just so unique and so different. Everything about it is fantastic. I was a big fan of this when I got it in hand with that test shot, but to see it fully painted, this sculpt is just, for lack of a better phrase, brought to life. It just looks fantastic. We've obviously got a tremendous amount of paint up here, varying shades of brown and tan to kind of bring it out with a bit of a wash in there to lift that sculpt up. He has those kind of gill almost, but I think they're supposed to represent, you know, leaves as ears on the side of his head, which have honestly quite a bit more paint on them than I expected. It's varying layers of kind of a whitish and then green on top of it. And then we, of course, have got those very, very green eyes, which I think are in stark contrast to the head itself, but then tie in the colors with the ears, and everything just looks fantastic. Not to mention the fact that the antlers on this guy are, and I've mentioned this before, something I really like on figures like this, they are asymmetrical. They are not the same on both sides, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, we've got one that's missing here that's been maybe lopped off in battle, and then if you spin him around on the back, you can see there are two more that have been chopped off, not to mention the fact that he's missing one over on this side that's over here. So I'm just a big fan of this in general. You know, I said when I reviewed Xylona, the deer god in the line, that I thought she was just kind of weird in terms of what she looks like. I know this guy is sort of similar in the fact that he's got a big head of antlers, but this guy really, really does it for me. He's still a pretty weird design in terms of what this line holds, but I think he is fantastically sculpted, and this head sculpt is easily among my favorites in this line so far. Now, as far as accessories goes, we of course have got all the back adapters, the strap, all the normal stuff you'd have for a Mythic Legions figure, and we do have pauldrons, which I've applied to him already. You can see they're done up in that same color scheme, so some of that brownish bronze with the kind of forest green, and then some of that gold piping in there. And we've seen these shoulders before, these pauldrons. They're not unique to him. Pretty much nothing on this guy is unique to him, as I've mentioned. And they work very, very well with this suit of armor. And of course, that color scheme is quintessential to his design. I think he works very well with that. Beyond that, as far as actual weapons, we have got one of the standard Legion swords here. So this is, you know, just one of a handful of designs that we see throughout the line. Silver blade, gold handle. We do have the knife here. This is one we've seen before. We've got the sheath, which has some design work on it. It's orange with gold paint. We've got a gold blade with an orange hilt for the actual knife itself. We've got the shield, which is another thing we've seen before. Some of that brownish bronze color with the green inlay, and then we've got those runes in there as well. This is one of the newer shields, so it's got a handle instead of a clip. And then his signature weapon is this big staff, and we've seen this part of the staff before, the actual handle. What's unique to him is the top here, and this is kind of, you know, it looks very mystical. It looks very, you know, sorceress or sorcerer type of weapon, and it looks, you know, like it's kind of billowing out, but it's a gnarled piece of wood, so you can see it's got some nice wood grain texture in there. We've got a lot of wash in there, and then it ends on this kind of green bauble, which doesn't necessarily match his armor paint, but it's pretty close, so it ties in really well. I like the weapon a lot. I like the staff. My only real issue is that mine is pretty warped. I'll need to heat it up and kind of fix it a bit. At certain angles it looks worse than others, but that's just, I don't know, it's something that you see every now and again, so I'm not too upset about it. I can fix it, but that is a really cool staff. I'm very much a fan of that, and in general he has a pretty solid array. And for no reason other than I can, here is a quick comparison between our production sample and the test shot. So if you saw my test shot video, you know what this guy is. You know, he is one of the original run-throughs of the mold to ensure that everything comes out correctly. Obviously, the test shot doesn't have the soft goods because it's not plastic. But other than that, I mean, you can just see that there's a night and day difference here. You know, I was very much in love with this when I got it. I was very interested in this figure from the start, so I had to jump on this one. But seeing the finished product is just such a difference in terms of what paint can really do to bring out a figure. And yeah, I mean, there's no real comparison here. It's just here's what the test shot looks like, here's what our finished product looks like. You can see just how much work really goes in to bring out all the detail on these figures. So at the end of the day, this is one of two figures going into it that I already knew a lot about because I have the test shot for Faunus. And I knew going into this figure that I was already a fan of the design, but once you see the fully painted finished production sample, it's just a whole different story. This figure is fantastic. I love everything about the way this guy looks from a design standpoint. I like the idea of him being this big, you know, kind of elemental forest spirit. I love the paint choices, the color choices that they made here. I love the application of soft goods on this guy, and he comes with some really cool accessories. I really dig that wooden type of, you know, crown on top of his staff. I really like that. It's different than some of the other stuff in this line, so it kind of singles him out a bit, and it just ties into his overall theme. So this is another winner, you know, not too surprising there. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legions Advent of Decay FAUNUS figure. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.